Hi, everyone. It's Steve Politti from NJ Advanced Media. This week's Rutgers Rant is brought to you by the New Brunswick Development Corporation. A big thank you to our sponsor and to all of our listeners for the continued support. Now let's get to the show.
From NJ.com and the Star Ledger, welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights, with your hosts Steve Politti and Rutgers insiders Brian Fonseca and Pat Lenny. Let's start shopping.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rant. 16-14 victory over Temple. I have to say, fellas, if you told me that Rutgers would be 3-0 and that I would spend much of Monday morning trying to read the lips of Greg Schiano and his conversation between offensive coordinator Sean Gleason, I would have been a bit surprised. I got to be honest with you. That was not how I expected to start my day, but that's where we are here in Rutgers world. The fan base is sort of up in arms. This might be a little too strong, a little concerned. It's certainly not too strong about the state of the offense. All right. So Fonseca, just take us through the clip you found of Greg Schiano talking to Gleason. When was it? And, you know, how many views does it have now? You put it online and it's got like, where are we at? Like 2,000, 3,000?
So I uploaded it on Streamable to be able to link it to our film review. That has 1,228 views as of 3:00 on Monday.
Okay.
And then
only about 400 of them are me. So that's good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So the usual, for context, the usual views on these things are like 400 is a good video. Right. And we're at 3 times that, but I can't tell if it's 3 times as many people or if everyone's just watching it a billion times. Right. And then I uploaded it on Twitter a little bit earlier and it has 1,100. So this video is going viral. People know, obviously, that we're at the game. We're not watching the TV view. So none of us noticed this during the game. No. We had gotten people texting us. I had seen some tweets, I believe, some message board posts. So I was extra attentive when I was watching it on the film review. And I got to say, like, people were saying, like, Schiano blew up on Gleason on the sideline. I thought he looked more disappointed, if anything, like a disappointed father.
Delaney would understand this as an Italian. This is what you look like on Thanksgiving dinner if the turkey is overcooked. Like, well, how would you describe it as an Italian person?
This is when the menegat is hitting your stomach.
Exactly it. That's it. Yes. Yeah, that was my first reaction. Because he grabs the front of his head and he holds on. He's like he wants to rip his forehead off. That was how I would describe it.
Yes, I've seen many interesting coaching faces on sidelines. That was maybe a first or a second. That was very interesting. And then I spent, as much time as everyone else trying to figure out exactly what he's saying. We've gotten some really interesting guesses on texts, on emails, on DMs. And I don't know if we've gotten to the bottom of it, but it feels like we've gotten pretty close. I
feel like we're close. And this is the consensus in a conversation with a few Rutgers fans who I will leave nameless. We seem to have centered on, at the end, at least, he says, quit commentating and call the game, or quit compensating and call the game. And there's another, just to take it even one step further, there's another quit complicating and call. Either whatever one it is, it's just chef's kiss, hilarious. I don't know which one I want it to be. I mean, what's your theory, Pat? You got one? You watched it.
Why didn't you just ask him in the press conference and then all?
Oh yeah,
come on, Steve, you're the veteran.
That's what he's going to answer that question.
Give me it again. Quit compensating and call the plays.
Quit commentating, quit compensating, or quit complicating. I don't see a P. The P,
there's nothing complicating about his play calling, so you can eliminate that.
That's
right?
A great point.
He doesn't want a future in broadcasting, so not commenting. So whatever the second one was.
Commentate. Well, yeah, but that's like commentating sounds like something you would yell at someone on Reddit if they're quit commentating. Yeah, I don't know.
I think Schiano, if you asked him, he wouldn't remember because he probably blacked out in the middle of that rant. So
he blacked out. I know.
His frown was so severe. He couldn't even draw that on a etch a sketch. That's how big of a drastic frown it was.
If you walked in, that's like if you walked in 90 minutes late on curfew and you saw that face on your father, it'd be like, oh man, I am done. Broader point, I asked Greg Schiano today about Sean Gleason directly because it's been a big topic. I wrote about it. I was hard on him in my column, and his answer couldn't have been more clear. He couldn't be. What was the exact phrasing he said? You guys wrote
as high as his confidence is as high as it could be.
As high as it could be. And then he went on to point out some very obvious things about this offense, that it's an offensive line, was a work in progress. The offensive line's worst game by far. Young quarterbacks, and he didn't say it, but young quarterbacks who did not play well. I mean, obviously Gavin Wimsatt got hurt. We'll talk about Evan Simon here. You know, he missed some throws that we don't pile on the kids. We try not to pile on the athletes as much as possible on this podcast. He was inaccurate, the best way we can put it. So, I mean, there are a lot of things obviously going on. Fonseca, as you're watching this, give me a sense of how much of it did you think was just schematic, and some of the things that they're doing again and again are very predictable.
That's the thing with me, is I was very surprised that on 21 first downs, they ran the ball 19 times, which I understand wanting to go heavy on the run, but it feels like there's got to be some threat of a throw to get defenses from not stacking the box. You know, Temple's able to put 7-8 guys up front and just stuff the run, which they did on 9 of the 19 runs were gains of 3 yards or less. So Rutgers is on second down, they're already starting way behind the sticks and having to work their way back. So they're really just starting off every drive behind, essentially. And then, yes, when Simon was given a chance to throw, he did miss a few throws by a large margin. Again, they're, like you said, Steve, they're just kids. People forget that. But some of the throws really could have been better. And I mean, one note too, I think they ran play action 2 times. If you're going to keep running the ball every time, throw in a fake every once in a while. I don't know. I thought the play calling seemed a bit predictable. And one point someone brought up that is maybe fair. They didn't want to get him hurt. Evan Simon, they were already down to 1 scholarship quarterback. Fair. But I mean, still, as bad as the offensive line was playing, I got to think that you can trust the kid to take 4 steps back and throw a screen pass or throw more than he did. I really thought they could have. I thought that's a fair criticism. I really thought they could have thrown the ball more.
Right. And Pat, you got to stretch the field too. I mean, this is the easiest defensive call in the world. You're going to put 8 guys in the box and make the quarterback beat you at Rutgers. And if you don't even try to stretch the field and get make them back up, I mean, that's going to be what you're facing.
No question. Inaccuracy was a big issue. Play calling was an issue, but also an issue we haven't brought up too is the separation by the wide receivers. There were times when they were open, but there were other times where they looked like they were covered completely. So not all the blame goes on the quarterback, on Simon here, but you're right. A lot of things just went wrong.
All right. So now they're up against it now. It doesn't sound like either Noah Vedral will be back or Gavin Wimsatt will be back. If that's the case, it was a great moment in the press conference. It was an interesting. These press conferences are often boring. This was an interesting one when Brian, you tried to press him on who would be the quarterback after Simon, and he just said, "I'm not going to tell you that." It was a great little laughing. I don't know that he's not going to tell you that. I don't think that person exists. I think the quarterback after Evan Simon is Johnny Langan. I'm not sure he shouldn't be the quarterback the entire game in some level. He can, I get it. Iowa's defense is good, but I mean, what do you think? Where are they going with this position?
For the record, it was Pat that asked that question. He deserves
Pat. I'm sorry, Pat,
for throwing the meat into the lines. Then, yeah, I think they really don't have any other options. I mean, unless Austin Alberici is this secret weapon they've been hiding specifically for this circumstance, which I can't imagine. Or the other Gavin Rupp, who we've joked about being the better Gavin, unless he's the better Gavin, which again, I'm not predicting. I think they're going to have to roll with Simon, or as you mentioned, Iowa's really good defensively. They have a really good linebacker, a really good safety, a first team All-American level players I'm talking about here. Maybe, I think someone texted it to us, the Johnny Langan 2020 Purdue game, the guy's a wrecking ball. He showed it on the last drive against Temple. Just let him get the rock and run as hard as he possibly can. And, tacklers be damned, put 9 guys in the box, let Johnny Langan just bulldoze through everybody.
Is that going to work?
Schematically, that absolutely does not work against Iowa's defense.
Against Iowa, it does not work. It works good against Wagner, a little bit Iowa. Yeah.
Well, at one point, Rutgers had, I think it was a handful of plays. Rutgers had 5 linemen and then 3 tight ends on either end, and then just ran the ball. Honestly, sometimes the way some of the play calling was going, it looked like the 1869 offense. I reckon just rock with it and see how far it takes you, because it's one thing. The thing is that Rutgers didn't turn the ball over. If they throw the ball more, they might turn it over, which would be a disaster against Iowa.
I guess it was 2 games against Wagner. Shiano said that he felt so good for Johnny when he threw that touchdown pass because he's a quarterback at heart. Yeah. Maybe that was the impetus to let's see Johnny Langan throw the ball in this game.
It could be. All right. Of the many theories that we've gotten about the offenses, I will call this the tinfoil hat theory. It might not be. Probably it's a lot of people who are around this program think that this is Greg Schiano putting the shackles on Sean Gleason because of all the things we've mentioned. And I wrote a column that was very critical of Sean Gleason because I just remember how creative this was the first year. It was just, I mean, you were watching some of the plays, the way he got, a lot out of very little that first year, I thought was very encouraging. And we haven't seen that at all. So the theory goes that Schiano knows the defense is better now. He knows the quarterback's not good. And he has told Sean Gleason to dial it back. I mean, are you buying that?
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
Albeit I wasn't here that first year, but I think it's just, they're just content to win.
Yeah,
right. So
that's the bigger part of it.
That's what it is. Like, if you have the lead, protect the lead. They're winning like the Giants won yesterday.
Right. Yeah. And the Giants got nothing but praise. And I think there's got to be some element of Greg Schiano who's looking at this says, hey, we're 3-0. We beat two teams on the road with a great defense. We're not talking about that. He's right too, Brian. I mean, he's right. And that, if you look at it just completely objectively, 30,000 feet view, this is a program that would have lost this game a couple of years ago, would have creamed. The fact that the defense was as good as it was, the fact they didn't have to score points, and the fact that they could have. Johnny Langan, we'll talk about this a little later, but makes a brilliant play at the end to fall down and kill this game. As when he posed, he could have run into the end zone and made the score look better. We have to keep in mind, right? The defense was very good.
It is fair to point to the 3-0 record and say that Rutgers would have signed for this in blood in the preseason. I think globally, I agree there. That is as good of a start as Rutgers could have wanted. And the defense has been really, really good. And it's probably the only reason they are 3-0. I do think there could be a middle ground between the 2020 throw everything up in the air and just a billion trick plays a game and just hope something sticks versus the offense against Temple where, I mean, there was really nothing creative. I think there is some room for something, and you got to help out. Listen, I know Evan Simon is a young quarterback. He's probably not learned the entire playbook. It might be hard to ask him to learn, trick plays and all these things. But there was a play where Joshua Youngblood took a snap at Wildcat and Evan Simon lined up at wide receiver, and he was ready for the throwback towards him to, the double pass. Those opportunities are there. I just think, again, they're risk adverse. They want to, let the defense control the game. And again, like you guys said, it's worked so far. It's hard to contest, but it's not going to work against a team like Iowa. I don't think you can out-conservative Kirk Ferentz in Iowa.
Right. Yeah. The problem is they were one busted play away from a complete disaster. And as Greg Schiano pointed out in the post-game press conference, that play happened and Temple just couldn't connect on the long pass after a busted coverage. I know. All right. Anyway, fascinating situation here. A lot of fun. Let's dive into true or false because I've got some more topics in here that I think we need to talk about. All right. You guys know the rule. Here we are. True or false? We are totally overreacting. Rutgers is 3-0, and that's all that matters. Gun to your head. Are we overreacting? Fonseca, true or false?
We never overreact. False.
Lanny?
False.
I'm with you totally. False. This is a good reaction. All right. True or false? Our preseason picks were wrong. Rutgers will go bowling in 2022. Fonseca?
I'm sticking with false.
Lanny?
Not unless they get the quarterback situation figured out.
Yeah, it's still false for me too at this point, but it can change in a hurry. All right. True or false? Johnny Football should get 25 snaps at quarterback against Iowa. Fonseca, true or false?
True.
Okay. Lanny?
False.
Wow. All right. We'll hear if it's a minute. I'm going to go true as well. Another Johnny Football one. True or false? Johnny Football is smarter than the average Cleveland Browns running back. This would be a good test to see if you guys also watch the NFL on Sunday to figure out what the hell I'm talking about. Fonseca, do you know what I'm talking about? True or false?
Absolutely. He is smarter than Nick Chubb. True.
Nick Chubb. True. All right. Lanny?
I only watched the Giants game, so I can't comment. No comment.
It's true. We'll explain that, but if you understand where I'm coming from, it's a great play Johnny Langman made. True or false? Aaron Lewis is the team's MVP through 3 games. Is that true, Brian?
I'll go with true.
Okay. Lanny?
I'm going to go true as well.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's hard to make an argument. There's someone else better than he's been playing right now. A couple more. True or false? Samuel Brown, the 5th, is the team's best running back. Is that too bold of a statement? Fonseca, true or false?
I'll go false. It's a bit hyperbolic right now.
Hyperbolic. Lanny?
False.
All right,
Too early.
I'll go false too, but I want 10 more. I want 10 carries out of him this week. True or false? Rutgers, Iowa will be a sellout. Will they get to the full Monty? Lanny, true or false?
True, and they'll just say it's a sellout anyway.
It doesn't matter if they get there or not. Fonseca?
Could not agree more. True.
Yeah, true. I think so as well. They're close from what I understand. And finally, true or false? The Big Ten East is the best division in college football, and it's time for the league to break it up. Fonseca, true or false?
False.
Wow. Okay. Lanny?
True.
I mean, it's true. There are 6 teams that are 3-0, and one of them's not Michigan State. I mean, that's pretty remarkable, right? I mean, let's start there. Fonseca, what do you really want the divisions to stay this way, where the 5th best team in the Big Ten is going to play for the Big Ten championship?
Okay, you asked me a bit of a split question there. I am not totally against divisions changing, but I don't think the Big Ten East is the best division in college football. I think probably both SEC divisions are better.
Okay.
Also, those records are a bit inflated. I mean, Rutgers didn't really beat anybody impressive. I don't think Indiana beat anybody impressive. But to your greater point, yes, it's been a good start for the East, a disastrous start for the West.
I mean, Penn
State beat Auburn.
That's a pretty good win.
I would agree. Although Auburn is about to fire their coach and they're a dumpster fire. But I do not disagree.
Right. Okay. Well, that's the Penn State's got that right now. If you were looking at just top 10 teams, best record through 3 games, you'd have to put Penn State close to it. But all right, we'll go there. Sorry. So if you are not paying attention to the NFL, what Johnny Langan did in that game, I thought was just brilliant. It's so easy to forget the situation when you break free. Rutgers could have scored there on their last possession, but Johnny Langan knew if he fell down the 3-yard line that Rutgers won, and he did it. And Nick Chubb did not do it against the Browns. And the result was, I mean, just one of the, 5 greatest wins in Jets franchise history. Just an incredible come from behind victory on what was one of the best weekends in New York football sports that we've had in a long time, right? I mean, look at that.
Yeah. Your teams are 5-0, or I guess the Jets are 1-1, but Giants and Rutgers 5-0.
Oh, I was trying to, when was the last weekend? Giants, Jets, Rutgers, Yankees, Mets, all won on the same weekend. Someone should look that up. I unfortunately am too lazy. All right, what else we got here? So to the overreaction point, we've talked about it, and this is there are a couple of texters pointed this out, like, hey guys, you thought they'd be 4-8, they're 3-0. Are you moving the bar? My point is that I just don't. From what I watched in that game, I didn't see a team that was going to win many more games if they played like that. Very simple, and that's the reaction. It's not that they. Great, they're 3-0. It's wonderful. That's where they want to be. But I guess, Fonseca, that's why I think that the fan base is absolutely within the right to be concerned.
I totally agree. It's tough to look through the rest of the schedule and find, 3 more wins if they play the way they did offensively against Temple. Maybe Nebraska, which got absolutely shredded by Georgia Southern at home recently. But I mean, the rest of the schedule, it's really hard to find, really anybody in the Big Ten that you can beat playing that way.
All right. So who is your team MVP then? Wait, did we both agree? We
all agreed
that it was Aaron Lewis. Okay. That's a fair one.
He was a beast on Saturday.
Yeah. What did you see from him, Pat?
Pure strength at the line of scrimmage. He was shedding blocks like nothing. And the forced fumble, he made a great play. I just thought he was, I hate to say unblockable because it's such a cliche, but he was.
Was he drawing any double teams?
I asked the film review expert, man.
Film review, man. What do we see there from the defensive line overall?
I agree with Pat. He shed just about everything. There was one play, Aaron Lewis is on the right side. He goes around his blocker, goes to the other end of the defensive line and makes a tackle. He was everywhere. 11 tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Just a tremendous game. And yeah, the offensive line constantly in the backfield, forced a ton. I can't remember the exact number, but multiple tackles at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. Temple had 49 rushing yards. Rutgers is the second best rush defense in the country through 3 games. Could not be more impressed so far with the front seven.
Right. And for all the talk, Iowa still is a different level of opponent, but I mean, the over, what was your stat on the over under? I mean, that's remarkable. It was 35, the lowest in the history of Las Vegas gambling. Well, you came up with something that's not quite that bold, but pretty much so.
Sure. So what I could find this morning, the Rutgers Iowa opened at 35.5. That was the number, which is unbelievably low for a college football game. That's pretty low for an NFL game, frankly, but really low for college football. It's gone down, by the way, to 34.5 on FanDuel.
It's dropped. Wow.
To 34.5. Yes.
Amazing.
The lowest I could find in college football recently was 2015. I believe it was Missouri Vanderbilt. That was exactly 34 when it closed. Rutgers has a chance to beat that, which would be just, I mean, we all expected this low number. I didn't expect it to be this low.
Usually when you see that, I don't know how you feel about when you're gambling, but usually when I see it, something that's so out of the ordinary, I think, well, Vegas must, like, everyone's still going to hammer that under. Sometimes I think, well, Vegas must know something. It's got to be the opposite. But this time, I think it is the under. I don't see a scenario where it's going to be many more points than that. I mean, do you agree?
My alarm bells are just screaming the over. Just it has to
really
screaming it. But I agree with you. I just don't see how this game ends. 21-10 seems ambitious. I just don't know how this game goes over.
Right.
Yeah, it's always turnovers that affect over-unders, and both these teams are really good protecting the ball.
Right. What was the stat that Greg Schiano mentioned? 9-0 or
9-0 when they don't turn it over.
Right. And that is something that's key to remember about this offense too. We're killing it, but they're holding on to the football, which is a big deal. All right. Can we dive into some insider questions? Everyone, thank you for texting. I think we had about 75 questions, and only 20 of them were about Sean Gleason. So that's good. We'll dive into as many as we possibly can. And this is one that came up a bunch. Why? And this is from Peter in Palm City, Florida. Why is Rutgers such a QB graveyard? Is it bad luck, or do we just do a bad job developing talent at the position? Along those lines, that question about Gavin Wimsatt, is he not ready yet, or is he just not as good as his rating? And has Schiano miscalculated in missing an entire cycle for QB recruiting? It's a fair question. I mean, if you look back, it wasn't just Greg Schiano. Talk about the miscalculations that are notorious now in Rutgers lore. Kenny Pickett, guys who have, gone to other programs. And I was watching this. I don't know how you guys felt about it. Like, how does Temple get a kid like EJ Warner, who looks like, if you're watching him, he's got the instincts. He might not have the skill, but he certainly made good decisions. Why can't Rutgers find a kid like that?
I wasn't that impressed with EJ.
You weren't. You watched the film.
I was. I thought he made all the right reads. But here's what
His first game.
And this is recruiting. My biggest thing with recruiting overall, if you don't hit a certain size criteria, you're off the board.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at Gavin Wimsatt, he's like the prototypical perfect recruitable player right now. He's got the size, arm strength, speed. And I think Rutgers wanted to recruit a player that could be multifaceted like him. Like his running game, as we've seen, is a big reason why he was so highly rated. So graveyard that was great question.
Graveyard is tough, but I will say that from what we've seen from the two quarterbacks, neither one of them is ready. I'm not ready to give up on either of them. Certainly not ready to give up on Gavin Wimsatt. The physical tools are incredible. He's 18 years old. But if they don't pan out, Peter's got a point. Then they have missed the recruiting cycle. They're going to have to find someone in the portal again, because Noah Vedra is leaving the program, and they have missed more than they've hit on the portal as well. So that's something to keep in mind.
Hey, Rutgers Rant listeners, it's Steve Politi from NJ Advance Media. We appreciate you supporting this podcast and the sponsors who help us continue doing it. This week's podcast is brought to you by the New Brunswick Development Corporation. If you listen to this show, you love Rutgers. And if you love Rutgers, you know the positive impact that DevCo has made on the campus and its community. We thank the New Brunswick Development Corporation for its continued support and for helping make this podcast possible. Now back to the show.
Going forward.
A few things. I think it's tough to bash them for. I understand the quarterback portal thing. It's tough to bash them when Noah Vedra gets hurt, and then Gavin gets hurt. They got a little bit of bad injury luck. The Gavin thing, he was highly rated because, as Pat said, his ratings are all about potential. He has all the size, he has all the physical abilities. It's a matter of molding him. And I agree with you, Steve, that's too early to count him out. And the graveyard thing, they haven't recruited well enough on the offensive line. They haven't had a very attractive offense in years. When was the last time Rutgers had a sexy offense that quarterbacks would want to play in? So I think all of that is a factor.
All right, another question on the offense. I can't be the only one asking this, but is there any possible Gleason has an amazing, creative, effective offense installed, but just didn't want to give it away prior to the Big Ten schedule? All right, I mean, are we? I have no doubt they held some stuff back against Wagner, but are you really holding stuff back against Temple, Boston College? I mean, I think it has more to do with the quarterback than trying to be secret and come out and stun Iowa with some high flying thing. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a conspiracy theory I can't get behind. That's like 5G
I wanted to.
towers
I want
right
to.
there.
Right. I want to get behind it, but yeah, my tinfoil is just not working today. I can't quite get behind that one.
Yeah, I like the idea. I just think that if they had 10 secret plays, you could take out one to kind of give yourself a touchdown cushion against Temple. I think that's a bit far-fetched. I do like the hope though that they're suddenly going to come out with the greatest show on turf against Iowa.
I'm not looking for some incredible play. At one point, I'm just looking for a pass over the middle to the tight end. And that is the next question from old Mark from Piscataway, moving to Wichita. I don't understand that decision, Mark, but that's between you and your family. Number 3, why don't we use our tight ends more often in the passing game? Why not run quick slants over the middle with them like the Giants used to do with Mark Bavaro? I mean, the Giants did against the Panthers yesterday. I mean, it is a great question. Giants don't have talent at wide receiver, so they just got some big guys who are good pass catchers who run good routes, get open. They're throwing the ball to them. And where's that element? I get it, man. I almost out, but they still have Victor Konopka. They have the Higgins kid, who I think is going to be a really good player. I mean, where is that from this offense?
I'm not so certain those routes were open. I mean, Temple put a lot of guys in the middle of the field because Rutgers just kept running the ball. And I'm not convinced that Rutgers has that big bruising tight end who's a surefire pass catcher that could be the quarterback safety blanket. I'd have to see that. I think Madalima could be that guy. I'd have to see something out of Langan and Konopka before I peg them as that.
All right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we forget that Johnny Langan is the tight end right now, and what he's doing is certainly not running slants across the middle.
We want Johnny Langan. No, this is great. Now I just say we want Johnny Langan to do 25 snaps, but I also would like him to catch 10 passes. Is that possible? Yeah, come on.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like Johnny football, so let him do whatever let him do.
I like in the end of the game to like him being like in the strongest man competition. He just tied the team around his waist with a big rope and just pulled it to victory. He's something else. All right. Good question from Mike from Edison. Don't know if I should ask this again with how bad the offense played, but with Isaiah Pacheco scoring the first TD last week, which current player on the team has the best chance to score a TD in the NFL next year?
That's a good one.
It's a good one, huh? Pat, you go first. What do you think?
I can't remember if Johnny Langan has another year of eligibility or not, but if he's going the NFL route, I would say maybe him as a versatile, who's the guy on the Saints? You know what I'm talking about. The guy they bring in at quarterback on the Saints.
Yeah.
From BYU.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I might have to get him in.
Yeah, we're stumped. But that's maybe even on special teams, something like that.
And he's going to get Johnny. Johnny will be in an NFL camp. I can virtually guarantee that. Do you have another answer better than that one, Fonseca?
No, and that's probably a indictment on the Rutgers offense. They're
Krushank won't be in an NFL. He will be in a camp next year. He could be returning kicks. I mean, that's possible. He certainly hadn't done it this year, but
it's possible. He might have another year of eligibility, though. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it's possible. That's a good call.
Yeah. All right. Those are the best two we can come up with, Mike. There are not a lot of playmakers, although there's some young running backs who, again, I'm high on Brown, but that's just me. All right. Andy from Glassboro is asking the question that was asked 27 times. Assuming Gleason doesn't turn around the offense, his track record isn't promising. What are the chances and price tag of letting him go at the end of the season? So he signed for next year. I Googled it because people ask. He's up. His contract goes through next year, so that is the price tag. It's $1 million, whatever, into next year. Chances, I mean, I think it's going to have to be pretty bad, and I think that's because of the quarterback situation and the line situation, and also, let's face it. I mean, how many times have we this is before you guys get here. I get it, but how many times have we written the story about the revolving door at coordinator and how bad that's been for the program? I mean, what do they have, like 11 and 11 years? If you did the Squid Game ball of money above me right now and told me to come up with 7 of those 11, I don't think I could do it. I mean, that's just so. I mean, there is a benefit to having coaching stability, right? I mean,
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'd have to be really bad, like 9 more games of Temple bad for, or maybe not that bad, but it has to be pretty bad for them to pull the plug. I'd agree.
right? Yeah, or he decides he wants to move on. I don't think that's the case. I think he likes it here. His family's from New Jersey, and again, he's a good coach. I defended him a lot in this podcast. This was the first time I was really like, all right, what the hell are we doing here? At least this first time this season. I think he's going to get a lot of rope. That's my feeling. All right. What other questions we said? As I said last week, the offensive line struggled in pass protection. What are the odds Shiano switches it up? Alex from Freehold. Lenny, what do you got? Think we'll see a shuffling there?
I don't think so. I think they've been pretty consistent and starting with the same guys every week and sticking with them. I think Brian had a nice breakdown in the film review that Shafani kind of swaps in as that swing guard, but I think it's just about developing those 6 guys. I know he said he had 8 at one point, but I think it's still those 6 that are just got to get better, and that's on Coach Augie Hoffman.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Do you agree with that, Brian?
Yeah, I think the solution would maybe be to JD Lorenzo's playing left guard, move him to left tackle, put Mike Chafani at left guard, and take out Willie Tyler, who's really struggled in pass protection so far. But that loses you some versatility with Chafani, who can plug in on either guard spot. He filled in for Dunlap when he struggled for a bit. He filled in for Lorenzo for a little bit in the third quarter. So I think they would rather have that flexibility with Chafani off the bench and hope that Willie Tyler kind of eases his way in and fixes some of his early pass protection problems.
Willie Tyler had an Eric Flowers moment in that game where he just got turned around by a speed rusher. It wasn't pretty, but yeah, I mean, you're going to have to deal with growing pains. And I think the fact that they haven't had injury there is good. Consistency is good. You have to remember they did. And I think that's part of why this was a conservative game plan, because they did run the ball so effectively against Boston College. I think they thought they were going to do it again in this game. That gives you I don't know why they didn't change the strategy it became obvious after the first 2 or 3 possessions that they weren't going to. But yeah, I think you got to stick with the line at this point.
And that's a great point you brought up, Steve. Think about how much praise we gave the offensive line after Boston College.
Oh yeah.
Like that 96-yard drive was the most beautiful thing this offensive line could have ever done. And then 2 weeks later, we're back to them sucking. So it just shows you how much consistency matters.
Brandon from Branchburg wants to know, are there a lot of recruits scheduled to visit on Saturday? Should be a great environment to showcase. I forgot to ask Todrick Hunt that question. I have no doubt there's going to be a big list. Greg Schiano's not going to miss this opportunity. Primetime, 3-0 packed stadium that's just a no-brainer. He will have plenty of recruits down there. All right, let me see if we have any more. Oh, this is a good one. I like this one because I think you guys were students. Perhaps you'll know the answer. This is from Diane, the good friend of the pod. I've been a season ticket holder for more than 20 years, and on third down, it always sounds like the student section is saying block that kick. Some say it's tradition. Is that true? I've never heard this. Do you guys know what this? If either one of you have been out in the student section?
Yeah, so they're not saying block that kick. They're saying a very naughty word and Penn State.
Yes. Brian's right? Absolutely right. That's what it is.
I figured it wasn't block that kick, but I didn't know it was that. That's great.
I really respect Diane's. I don't know if it's innocence or just positive attitude. But
we don't want to get that explicit rating on the Rutgers Rant. That would be something bad if we ended up on the naughty list of podcasts. Wow, that's good to know. Thanks for that.
It's the word people want to say to all of us every once in a while.
Want to. People have been saying consistently for 20 years. Okay. All right. Here's a couple more. There's loads of hype for this night atmosphere environment at SHI Stadium. In your opinion, where does Rutgers rank in terms of nighttime packed house crowds in the Big Ten? Great question. I will say I have not been to every Big Ten stadium yet. I think I still miss Wisconsin and Purdue and Northwestern, but I haven't seen every stadium at night. You know where we're going to start here with very little beats the whiteout at Penn State when it's at night and everyone's waving the flags. Nebraska when they were not just a dumpster fire is a great atmosphere. What do you guys got? Where do you see the best atmosphere?
Ohio State's probably pretty good. I haven't been there for a night game, obviously.
Yep.
In fairness, I haven't been at a Rutgers, like an actual good night game at Rutgers ever. I think the last good one was probably Michigan 2014. I wasn't around for that, but Ohio State, Michigan probably has a really good one. I think you mentioned Wisconsin, really good. I reckon Rutgers is probably near the bottom half of the league in that.
Well, yeah, I'd say in the middle. I mean, when it was, and this is going to remember, when it's good, it's great. I mean, Rutgers Penn State, the first Big Ten game in that stadium was unbelievable atmosphere. I mean, just an angry, feisty crowd. I mean, it was about as good as a home field advantage that you could get. So if it's that, Pat, I mean, that's top 5.
It's no doubt. And think about pandemonium in Piscataway before they even had the right. Student section wasn't even in the back there. That those seats didn't exist, so that would only be better.
Yeah,
it's just you're right. I think the nighttime brings out more energy and student involvement as well too. So
yes,
people are drunker.
Yes, I've told this story a million times, but when a pandemonium passed Piscataway, we have to go down from the press box through the crowd to cross the field to get to the locker room, and it was so crazy I couldn't get across. And I stopped halfway through. I'm like, well, I'm just going to write my column on this because this is insane. That's what I remember about that night. So if you can have that against Iowa, that would be fun. All right. Final question, and it segues great into our predictions. Mike in Jersey City, how high should I get my hopes for the game versus Iowa? So, I mean, we're clearly we're down on it, but I was looking at the matchup predictor on ESPN. I don't know how much stock you guys put in that, but it was 56-43 Iowa. So I mean, it's about as close as you can get on that thing. How high should his hopes get? What do you think?
I think just the quarterback situation makes it so unpredictable and hard to gauge. If it's going to be Evan Simon the whole game, you're going to see a lot of what you saw against Temple. Yeah. If either of those other quarterbacks are able to go, it's going to be that 53-47 maybe. So I would say enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the first big night game. Keep your expectations at a pretty decent level.
Yeah, you agree with that, Brian?
I would keep my expectations fairly low, and if Rutgers is able to keep the game close, let them kind of elevate. If it's a one possession game in the fourth quarter, anything could really happen, but outside of that, I just got to think it's going to be a long night for Rutgers.
All right. Well, that's a good transition to the predictions. Temple predictions. I'm back, baby. That's all I have to say about that. I went 1-0 last week. You guys picked Rutgers to cover the 16 points. There was a negotiation. I will admit, early in that game, there was a negotiation in the press box where I'm like, are it really just 16 points we agreed on? And you guys shot me down pretty fast there, but it didn't matter. So we're all tied up here. So who wants to go first on this one?
I do want to say we have to settle. The line opened at 6. It's currently at 7.5. What are we going with?
I mean, shouldn't we go with the current line? Since it's as current as we can get, that seems fair. Doesn't have to be the opening line. If it's 7.5, let's go 7.5.
I think it's more compelling that way too. I agree.
Is that really? She's going to change her pick? I guess it could change your pick.
Half a pick is a lot. Half a point is a lot of
point and a half. Yeah,
it matters.
Yeah, it does matter.
I will go Iowa covers. I just think they're going to be able to score early, hold on to that lead. I just can't imagine this Rutgers offense is going to be able to mount a comeback, barring, a Shaquan Loyal-esque play where they make a big defensive play, which given Iowa's conservative offense, I just can't imagine that happens. I'll go Iowa 17, Rutgers 6.
Okay, so cover there. Lanny, what do you got?
I'm going to give the Rutgers homer pick with the big crowd. Ball is the program, that they are going to get one of those takeaways that changes the game on the complete opposite of what Brian said. So I'm going to say Rutgers covers and wins 17-14.
A Rutgers victory. You're going to go there. I love it. Oh, it's great. A Rutgers victory. 17-14, you say. Okay. All right. That'll move the needle here. I disagree. I'm going to go with where Brian is in this one. And again, I get it that the Iowa offense is bad. I just think that they will find, there's been some mistakes in that defense. They're going to find something to get a few points on the board. I do not feel confident that Rutgers will. And so I think it's going to be something along the lines of, a 21-7, 24-7 Iowa win. Maybe it'll be close in the fourth quarter and it'll keep the fans in the stands, but I just don't see it right now in this one. All right. What else we got? As we're leaving the press conference today, Fonseca told me he went to a volleyball game and wanted to talk about it. So this is good. Tell us what we've learned here from volleyball.
Sure. I'm not sure how many of our listeners are aware, but you're talking to the first team All Hudson County player in Kearney volleyball history.
Oh,
Not to
wait
toot my
a minute. Don't be modest here. What to tell us more about this?
So for the record, Kearney volleyball existed for 10 years when I first started playing.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly a historic program.
Right.
I was according to NJ.com, who is now my employer but was not at the time. For the record, I am the first team All Hudson County member of the Kearney volleyball program, which has since won the Hudson County tournament that we lost in the final of. That still haunts me to this day, but that's another story for another day.
Pat, are you going to point out the obvious before he goes on here about this what makes this remarkable?
Just get to the volleyball, Rutgers volleyball.
No. But for your fun second, you're like 5'8", right? Is that
whoa?
How tall are you? Are you 5'9"?
This is absolute slander. This
How
is
tall are you?
absolute. I cannot believe what I just heard. I am 5'9". It's on my license plate. I will not give up an inch. I am 69 inches tall. I will not lose an inch here.
So I apologize.
I need
unreservedly. I'm very sorry.
I need every single one I can get, Steve. I
Had to have been the Lobaro.
Okay, 5. So, but that's pretty cool. So 5. So you were a setter, I guess.
I was a setter. Good guess. Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, it was.
Well, you don't think I have hops? You don't think I can jump over the net? I don't know.
I did. I'm just trying to envision the Kearney volleyball schedule. Like, who is the big Kearney volleyball rival?
They got to beat St. Peter's Prep, Hudson County.
Yes.
You beat St. Peter's Prep?
No, we almost did. We won a set at home, the most fired up I've ever been in my entire life, and then we choked it away. But that again,
all right.
It is.
Who's the rival? Is the rival like North East Side? I mean,
so we had multiple rivals. We
North
had
Arlington.
We had St. Peter's Prep, who was the team we could never beat. There was Bayonne, who we finally beat my senior year, and there was Harrison. That was a big rival. The soccer rivalry moved over to the volleyball court, and we beat them in the Hudson County semifinals. I cannot believe I am reliving my high school glory days on this podcast.
This is great. This is good content.
I'm going to get clowned on unbelievably hard, and deservedly so. I should really get clowned on for this.
I'm just picturing
back. This is
really it is. I'm just picturing a bunch of little Portuguese kids with vuvuzelas at this volleyball game, getting intense.
There was about 50 of them there, and good crowd. You changed the town.
You changed the town. All right, what were we talking about?
Volleyball Town, USA, baby.
Volleyball Town, USA.
That's right.
So what happened at Rutgers? Go ahead.
So I, on Sunday, decided to pop by Jersey Mike's Arena and watch the volleyball team take on Princeton. They recently started playing games at Jersey Mike's Arena last year. I didn't have a chance to watch any game there last year, so I decided to pop by this year. And I got to say, obviously, the program is in a tough spot. It's been in a really tough spot for a long time. You wrote about when they lost their first 99 games in the Big Ten. They're obviously climbing a huge mountain. Caitlin Schwafheimer is doing as good a job as one could possibly hope for. They're 6-6 right now through the non-conference slate. My point being, I'm watching them play, and I'm imagining that place full. If they could ever get to a point of respectability in the Big Ten, and they welcome a team like they're welcoming defending national champions Wisconsin on Friday, or if they welcome Nebraska, a team that's selling out a 10,000-person arena every game. If Rutgers could ever get to the point where one of those teams is coming to the rack, and Rutgers could reasonably upset one of those teams, that place will be sold out and absolutely rocking to a natural level of basketball, of wrestling, of anything that's in that place. So this is probably unreasonable to expect out of that program. Again, they're climbing a very, very big mountain. But I was just sitting there watching it, and I was thinking what this could be is pretty remarkable.
No team had a harder transition into the Big Ten than volleyball. I mean, there's just not a volleyball culture in New Jersey. It's going to be very hard. I mean, no offense on the Hudson County thing. I don't want to insult you again twice in the same. We have to work together through the rest of the season. I don't want to get in your bad side about it, but I'm just saying it is a hard thing to pull off in New Jersey. I mean, Pat, where does volleyball rank as sports in our state here?
It's definitely, I don't know. I think there have been some really good players that have come out of New Jersey and gone to Penn State, like most sports. But it's in terms of popularity, I would say middle of the pack.
All right. Any other good women's soccer continues to roll, right? I mean, that's impressive. Yeah. They might be they're the best team at the school right now. And they might be the best team that program's had. Is that too far of a stretch? I mean, what do you think?
They're 9-0 for the first time in program history at the start of season. Yeah. They went undefeated in the Big Ten last year. I don't think it's realistic to expect it, but they can reasonably go undefeated again in the regular season. Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit for the team. They look really good so far. And I would argue, they're the best program in the school and the one that has the best shot at winning a national championship.
They're number 3, right, in the country. Who's 1 and 2?
I can't tell you that. I don't know.
Yeah.
North Carolina, I think, is number one. Not that I would, know that off the top of my head from random reasons. UCLA, maybe UCLA.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are we-
Florida State won last year. They've got to be up there.
Just
So
number 3 in the country. That's no joke.
it's
Let's
good.
look it up right now. We're doing live.
Live looking up. All right,
NCAA.
while he's Googling it, anything else going on is kind of.
I know wrestling started practice, so
Probably
maybe
started
be
practice.
getting out there.
We're getting to the point where we're going to get some basketball media days coming relatively soon. So that's exciting. We'll get some hoops talk. But right now, it's all Rutgers and all Iowa and all football. All right, what we got? What's the ranking?
Okay, so this is from September 11th. So this is a week ago.
Okay.
But Rutgers is number 4. Your North Carolina Tar Heels are number 2. UCLA is number 1.
Ooh.
And number 3 is Duke.
I think that's old. I think Carolina just beat UCLA, so I think that's going to flip.
Okay.
Duke
And
is
then,
screw
and then number 5 is the Fighting James Cratches, the South Carolina Gamecocks.
that. Oh,
Wow,
boy.
look at that.
Well, the College Cup is in North Carolina this year, so road trip. That's all I got to say about that. All right, good job, guys. I think we should wrap up on that end. Thanks for everyone for listening, for all your great questions, to Devco as always, and really looking forward to seeing the atmosphere at the stadium this week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant. To participate in the conversation and receive live updates about the Scarlet Knights directly to your phone, sign up at NJ.com/insider.
You haven't heard enough from me yet, huh? Steve Politti here for one last thank you to this episode's sponsor, New Brunswick Development Corporation, and to listeners like you who make it all the way to the end of the show. We'll see you again soon.